Okay, so our next presenter, Umit Cebeci from Turkey. He's an English teacher in the Turkish Education Association, Caribou College, or TED, I believe,
Yes.
is how you call it. And he was a participant in our Teaching English to Young Learners course, which we offer here at UMBC. And he's going to be talking about training EFL teachers in effective assessment of young learners, a very important topic. So, welcome, Umit.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much inviting me here to speak today. Today I'm Ümit Cebeci from Turkey, and I am working at TED Caribou College, Turkish Education Association. And today my topic is assessing and assessment of young learners. But before that, let me introduce you my professional development project. In September 2012, the proposal for professional development project called Effective Assessment of Young Learners will be presented to Turkish Education Association as a part of their in-service teacher training for the academic year 2012 and 2013. The course will be offered to participants as a face-to-face training, and it will last 90 minutes. It has 4 parts. In my training, I am going to promote the development and the practice of assessing young learners. The goal of my presentation is to train teachers in key concepts of assessment, rationale behind assessing young learners, guidelines of assessment planning, assessing young learners, and techniques. But before that, before we got into details of my presentation, I would like to talk a little bit about the English education situation in Turkey. English has been started to taught as a foreign language since French lost its status as a lingua franca in Turkey. French was the language of nobility during the first years of Turkish Republic, but the situation changed after the World War II, when the British and the American effect was felt in our education system. And after the law of compulsory primary education in 1997, English started to be taught from the early ages. The main reason why English is taught earlier and earlier in Turkey is that English has become the language of world. It became an international language, or lingua franca, which is used as a medium of communication in all walks of the life, such as politics, economy, or education, and so many areas. Moreover, as it is believed that education at an early age promotes learning, children's intellectual, physical, linguistic, and emotional development, most schools in Turkey, especially private ones, start teaching English at very early ages. Therefore, English taught at early ages and these days, and teachers need more professional development in teaching English to young learners. Particularly, there is a highly growing demand for assessment of young learners, and there is a need for professional development in assessment. In fact, as my friend said before, the terms testing, assessment, and evaluation are usually mistaken, and they are used for the meaning of another. Furthermore, learning differs from one person to another one. So tests which we use commonly may not work in a class in which there may be different learners whose needs and interests are different. So therefore, teachers need more professional development in assessing young learners. In addition to assessment, evaluation is needed, because teachers would like to see whether their teaching is effective, and parents would like to see whether their children are learning, and school authorities and the stakeholders, maybe National Ministry of Education, would like to see whether teaching is effective. So therefore, my professional development project will address this question: how do we assess young learners? But before that, I would like you to ask, what kinds of assessment methods or techniques do you use while you are assessing your learners or young learners? For 30 seconds, you can think and say anything.
For example, when learning a song, yes, I watch whether he or she pronounces all the words, whether she keeps or he keeps to the rhythm, and if the pupil understands what she or he sings about, that means he is in. He is within English.
Mhm.
He is
So
in within
you
in
do a
English
kind of
speaking.
observation, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks. Another one?
What we can use with young learners is the informal assessment.
Good.
Yes, and what I would like to introduce in my country is self-assessment as well. And I think young learners should be aware of their own progress. So I would like to hear something about that from you. So all kinds of informal assessment and creating portfolios is a great thing with young learners. They love that, and it shows their progress.
Yes. Thanks for your back Ülker from Azerbaijan.
All right. I just recalled the movies class, elective class course that I did with my young learners, I would say, anyway, because although they are 16 to 18, and they had to create, that was a project, movie-based project. They had to make a movie, short video clip based on the topic. 3 topics were offered. One of them, human being versus adversities in life. Another one, historical events and their film adaptation. And the last one, responsible citizenship and human rights. And what I liked about it is that they created something, they were involved, it was totally their product, and I could assess it.
So self-assessment, right?
Right, thank you.
So thanks for these precious ideas. And today I am going more into details about these assessment cities or alternative assessments. So let's start with the portfolio assessment. A portfolio is purposefully collected works of students which shows students' intellectual effort or progress and achievements in one or more areas of the curriculum. Portfolio assessment works well with young learners because portfolios encourage students learning towards learning, and they foster learning about learning. Also, they are the evidence of their self-confidence and self-reflection, self-success. What's important is that assessment is done by measurement according to some criteria, which is set by the curriculum or the teacher or with the students. Okay, they set the objectives and they create the portfolio together. Then they just measure it or score it together. Here in this picture, you can see one of my students' portfolio, in which you can see different kinds of works through over a period of time. So there are shapes, there are some drawings, there are some poems, there are lots of things, songs that we learn. Then at the end of the year, just we evaluate them and see whether they do well or not. Or we just give feedback to their parents or our school directors. Secondly, we have structured assessment activities. Structured assessment activities or tasks are the ones we use to assess young learners' skills and attitudes and knowledge, as well as their skill to use these skills learned in the classroom in new situations. We do it by structured activities. So how we do it? We do it with drawing, miming, pasting, pointing, and touching. You know, our students and especially young ones really like touching things and drawing. Hey, in this photo, he's really naughty. I can't set him down. But with a structured activity, he doesn't need to talk. He just needs to answer my questions through drawing or pasting. So they feel very easy because they like it. They like drawing. We have projects here. Project assessment provides students an environment to promote their creativity, which is essential for their further learning or future learning. In the project assessment, learners are given different tasks. However, they must be provided such kind of activities that they must all respond. For example, here, in this photo, my students are just creating a project work about animals. And what should they do is just that. They have to find some photos or pictures from the internet and they have to put them in their projects, and they have to write some stuff, and they have to present it in front of class. So it was very easy for them, and they like it. They like sharing the things they created with their friends. So it can be a part of our assessment projects. As my friends told, we have self-assessment. Self-assessment for young learners gives them a feeling that they have a say in their assessment. They have a chance to say to teacher or to their assessment. So it promotes young learners' awareness of learning and self-success. Okay, this photo, which I did with my students, my young learners are given some basic criteria and some rubrics and checklists to tick when they achieve something good. At the end, we had a diagram or chart like that to show their progress in the language lesson. So, but they need more guidance and help from the teacher when compared to adult learners. We have peer assessment. Peer assessment is very similar to self-assessment, and young learners are expected to assess their peers according to some criteria again. However, while we are doing peer assessments, we must be careful because we must give them the clear guidance and the instructions beforehand, because sometimes they really go crazy while assessing their peers. But peer assessment is really good for young learners, as they feel very open and they feel very relaxed to their peers, to their at same age level. Also, self-assessment and peer assessment sets a good positive environment for learning. Also, moreover, what is important for a teacher is that they learn to respect each other's work through peer assessment. We have traditional tests, so you know we like it. Everybody likes traditional tests. Do you know why? Because they are very easy. They are a click away. You just click on the web and you can find traditional tests. They are good. Yes, we have to use them sometimes because they are objective. They are valid. They are reliable. However, sometimes they may not work with young learners because they cannot show actually what can they do through our traditional task. For example, multiple choice. So students sometimes don't like it, especially young learners. Also, as an alternative way of assessment, we have take-home tasks, which I really liked when I was studying university, because I feel relaxed, because I can take my assignment and my assessment to home and do it there. So for young learners, it lessens time and the place stress, because they have more time and more place to work on their assessment. Also, but we have to do it with the students. We must start take-home task in the class after giving them some instructions. Then we say them, okay, you can do it at home and you can bring it later. We can assess them in the class. Moreover, we have another assessment. It's called observation, as my friend said before, and in which students are assessed in their context of learning. We don't just disturb them or interrupt them while they are doing something. Just we have some observation records or checklists. We put some ticks while we are watching them. They are doing the activities, and we must keep the observation checklist on our file for the end of year evaluation. However, they can be sometimes subjective, and they can change one situation to another one. So we have to use, or we can use it with other assessment methods. For example, while they are presenting their project, we can observe them and we can add the scoring to observation. Lastly, another way of assessing young learners is conferencing. But the conferencing I mean here is not the conferencing now I am doing. The conferencing is informal or friendly chat during which we have learning about children's ability to use language or his communication or her communication skills. However, conferencing like a peer assessment or self-assessment can be linked to other assessment skills. So for example, again, while they are presenting their portfolios, we can assess their conferencing skills, or through conferencing we can assess their language learning. I think it's end of my presentation. If you have any questions, now you are welcome. Yes.
So thank you for your great presentation.
Thanks,
Yemit.
Shoki.
So don't you think that the taken-home task here is a reliable tool here that you can, through which you can measure the learners' proficiency? So as we know here, most of parents want to bring a good picture for their kids. So most of them try to help them with the homework or just do it for them.
But it's a good way. It's a good way to say that you are doing great things in the classroom. When you send homeworks, for example, at home, of course parents are helping them, and they see, oh, my students is doing something in the class like that. They are aware. They become aware of the fact that they are learning something. Take home tasks are should be discussed with the teacher in the class, and you must provide the guidelines for the task. Then they must go home and they must do it, or they can get some help from their parents, because these are not, let's say, formal kinds of test assessment. They are informal kinds of assessment. We can use it in another way.
Hey,
Yes.
Yumit. Thank you
Hello.
for your presentation.
Thanks.
So I got interested in the conferencing because I'm interested also in presentations in young learners' presentation skills.
Yes.
So tell me please a little more about informal meeting. What? So is it planned? It's not planned. Is it within the class? Outside the class? Where does it take place? So are there any indicators or criteria for it? Thank you.
As far as I read from the George and Paolo, it says that while the children in the class doing some activity, you go to, for example, in a class activity, you go next to children and start talking about the activity, how do they feel, what's the aim. So you direct some questions towards your objective while they are doing the activity. It can be an informal chat in the classroom.
Thank you. I just have a comment. I'm really impressed by the number of assessment techniques we can use with the young learners, and I liked the self-assessment tool you have created. It is great. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I was wondering why you have only 6 participants in your course. Isn't that a waste of resources to
No.
have such a small number? Or do you have a certain reason
Let's
for
say
having
it's a
such a
kind
small?
of piloting. It's a kind of piloting. So then after I can move or other schools, or I can do a presentation in my city, regional presentation. I can do it there too. But it's a kind of piloting, right? Yeah.
Yumit, I liked your presentation very much, and it's very
Thanks.
close to what I'm trying to do, like experimenting with young learners and all kinds of non-conventional forms of training. So you mentioned peer assessment. Well, with young learners, we know that they're more passionate, like compassionate, and it's rather hard for them to be objective. What you mentioned also that you train them in assessing each other. So can you give more comments about that? How do
Yes.
you make sure? Because in my group, what happens if they like somebody and they feel how bad it feels when somebody criticizes you, then everything is fine. Everyone is doing great. Okay. On the other hand. Well, I have not observed them being really hard on somebody, but still. So, what do you do about that, please?
So peer assessment with young learners should not be as serious as we do with the adult learners. So we can put some expectations or checklists on the board and say them, okay, you are going to assess your friends according to these criteria. So afterwards, you can take them here on the stage and say, okay, can you assess, so what do you think about his learning or her learning about an objective? So he comes and tells why did he or she assess in that way. So it was all about checklists and criteria you design. So you direct the assessment, but they do it. Yes, guidance.
Yeah, that's good because here also peer assessment is not really just meant to assess. It's also a learning tool. Yeah,
Yes.
sorry, a teaching tool that teaches young learners to be confident, okay, to be fair, and to engage them in real life responsibilities, okay, from an early age.
Yeah, as I said, it opens the gate for self-esteem and the respect for others' work.
Hi, Umit. We have a question that's come to us through a tweet, and it comes from Sakura Tukanaga from Japan. And we've actually gotten a lot of responses about, favorable responses about your presentation regarding portfolios. And this question relates to this, and it says, do you choose rubrics to evaluate your portfolio assessments?
If no, personally, I will not rubrics because it may be very engaging for me because I'm working with lots of young learners. So what I do is just prepare a checklist at which matches the objectives of the lesson. So I prepare checklist.
Okay, there was just one other question. A lot of questions.
Yes.
And it comes from Nadwa Jazan from Syria, and she was one of our participants last year in the summer program, and she wanted to know, how do traditional tests look like in Turkey? She was, kind of
They
wondering
are all
does it-
open-ended, but not for young learners. For young learners, we have no formal testing system, but it starts from the 4th grade. But most teachers are always creating or writing, let's say, multiple choice tests for young learners because it seems very easy. That's it.
Okay, great. Great. Any last comments? We did get a comment in from Buket Ertenu from Turkey who said, Umit rocks with his great project. So, let's just end
She
there.
was, in fact,
Yes.
she was my friend from the U.S. Department of another U.S. Department project.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
called
good.
Young Innovative Entrepreneurship Project, and thanks for that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Umit. Wonderful
Thanks.
presentation. Great.